Some people never solve problems, they relocate them. And one of the most dangerous places they relocate them to is you. Because blame shifting is not accountability, it's psychological escape. It's what happens when someone makes a choice, creates damage, crosses a line, but refuses to carry the weight of what they did. So instead, they hand it to you. And if you don't understand this pattern early, you can spend months, sometimes years, apologizing for wounds you didn't create. Here's how it usually begins. Not with obvious manipulation, with confusion. You bring up something they did, a lie, disrespect, broken trust, emotional inconsistency, excuses. You address the behavior, and somehow, minutes later, you're the problem. Now suddenly you're too sensitive, you're overthinking, you're starting drama, you're misunderstanding, you're insecure, you're reacting wrong. Notice what happened? The focus quietly moved from what they did to how you responded. That shift is everything, because blame shifters don't defend truth, they defend themselves from discomfort, and accountability feels like discomfort. So instead of saying, "I was wrong," they say, "You made me do it. If you didn't act like that, I wouldn't. You always push. You never let things go. This is why I hide things. Look how you're reacting right now." And there it is, the relocation. Their decision, your burden. But here's where it gets worse. If this happens enough, you stop analysing their behaviour and start obsessing over yours. You begin questioning your tone, your timing, your delivery, your emotions, your memory. You start thinking, maybe I did overreact. Maybe I am too emotional. Maybe if I explained it better. Maybe this is partly my fault. And that is exactly how blame shifting works. It exhausts you until self-doubt becomes easier than self-trust. Because confused people are easier to control than confident people. And once your confidence is weakened, you become easier to rewrite, easier to guilt, easier to manage. Because people who doubt themselves often keep returning to the very person causing the doubt, hoping clarity will come from the same source creating confusion. This is where most people miss the deeper truth. Blame shifting is not just lying, it's power management. Because the person who controls fault often controls the dynamic. If they can make you feel responsible for their betrayal, they avoid guilt. If they can make you feel guilty for questioning disrespect, they avoid change. If they can make you apologize for reacting to pain, they never have to address the pain they caused. And now, you're no longer confronting behavior, you're defending your right to be hurt. First pattern, weaponized reaction. This is when they provoke, then focus on your explosion. They lie, you catch it, you get angry, and suddenly the conversation becomes, "See, this is why I can't talk to you." Not, "Why did I lie?" This is critical, because your reaction becomes the headline, so their action disappears. They zoom in on your response to distract from their responsibility. Yes, screaming may not help, but your reaction is not the root issue. Their behavior is. Never let someone use your pain response to erase the pain source. Second pattern, selective memory. Blame shifters often rewrite events, not because they forgot, but because altered memory protects image. They'll minimize what happened, deny key details, change timelines, ignore patterns. "It wasn't that bad. You're exaggerating. That never happened. You always do this. You're remembering it wrong." This forces you into defense mode. Now, instead of addressing reality, you're fighting to prove reality existed. And when someone keeps making you prove obvious pain, pay attention. Healthy people seek resolution. Manipulative people seek confusion. Third pattern, moral reversal. This one is dangerous. They do something harmful, but position themselves as the victim of your response. They betray you, but now they're hurt you don't trust them. They disrespect you, but now they're upset you became distant. They create instability, but now they're offended you need reassurance. Do you see it? They cause damage, then emotionally punish you for noticing damage. That's not misunderstanding, that's distortion. And distortion is designed to make boundaries feel cruel. But here's where most people fail. They keep explaining. They think better communication will fix deliberate deflection. So they talk more, clarify more, defend more, prove more. But blame shifters often don't need more explanation. They understood. They just need escape. And you cannot explain someone into accountability if accountability threatens their ego. Read that again. Some people are not confused. They are protecting themselves from consequences. So what do? First, stop chasing understanding from people committed to distortion. Not everyone misunderstanding you actually misunderstands you. Some understand perfectly, but benefit more from twisting it. Second, return focus to behavior. When they redirect, bring it back. I'm talking about what happened. We can discuss my tone later. First, address your action. Don't change the subject. That still doesn't explain your choice. This matters because clarity breaks manipulation. Blame shifting survives through emotional smoke. Your job is not louder emotion, it's sharper focus. Third, watch patterns, not apologies. Anyone can say sorry when cornered, but real accountability sounds different. It sounds like, I did that. I was wrong. I see how that affected you. I need to fix it. Without excuses, without reversal, without making you carry half the blame for their decision. Because mature people own impact. Immature people outsource it. And when accountability only appears after exposure, that's often not growth, that's damage control. And here's the hardest truth. If someone constantly blames you for their harmful behavior, your biggest mistake may not be arguing. It may be staying long enough to internalize it. Because repeated blame shifting can slowly train you to abandon yourself, to question your standards, shrink your instincts, silence your pain, normalize disrespect, until one day you're carrying emotional debt for choices you never made. This is why strong people are dangerous to manipulators, because strong people eventually notice the pattern. They stop over-explaining, stop over-apologizing, stop absorbing projected guilt. And once that happens, blame shifting loses power, because it only works when you agree to carry what was never yours. So remember, not every accusation is truth. Not every conflict is your fault. Not every emotional weight belongs on your shoulders. Some people don't want solutions. They want relocation. They want somewhere else to place their shame, their mistakes, their weakness, their consequences. And if you're not careful, that place becomes you. But here's the shift. The moment you stop accepting misplaced blame, the dynamic changes. Because when people realize you no longer confuse manipulation with accountability, they either adjust or they lose access. And that may be the real reason blame shifters fear strong boundaries, because boundaries force ownership. And people addicted to blame relocation hate carrying what they tried to hand you. So the next time someone keeps making their betrayal your insecurity, their lies your reaction, their disrespect your sensitivity, pause and ask yourself, is this actually my fault? Or are they just looking for somewhere to unload it?